In 2020, I was one of the first to review the WeatherFlow Tempest. At the time, I didn't give it my full recommendation because the rain gauge didn't work as well as I had hoped. But I have good news. I've tested home weather stations for over a decade and have had one in my backyard for twice as long. This is our focus at the Weather Station Experts, and we love innovation. Most home weather stations aren't high-tech, so the Tempest was a breath of fresh air when it was first released. The haptic rain gauge was always its Achilles heel, though. But 4 years have passed since I last looked at the Tempest. Since then, WeatherFlow developers refined the haptic rain gauge with data from tens of thousands of active sensors and made it more accurate. At least that's what we've heard. But you likely found us looking for an honest review on the Tempest, so let's first look at its impressive features. We do have a lot to say about that rain gauge, though, so stay tuned for that. The Tempest Weather System is an integrated station that comes fully assembled out of the box. Installation is just 2 steps, turning the sensor on and attaching it to your mast. Everything else is completed through the app, and in 5 minutes you'll see data from your station in real time. The Tempest measures what you expect, including temperature, humidity, wind, and rainfall. However, it uses a sonic anemometer to measure wind, and was the first to use a haptic rain gauge. This measures rain by the vibration of raindrops hitting the top of the device. The Tempest sensors performed as expected, although humidity readings erred on the high side. We don't have our sensor in a place that gets accurate wind readings, but the sonic anemometer found responsive, and the UV and light information is a nice touch, especially for smart home use. The Tempest lightning detection is outstanding and the best we've seen of any home weather station on the market. False detections were minimal, and distant detection was accurate based on data from lightningmaps.org. You can connect your Tempest to almost any popular smart home device via IFT and ask Alexa for your weather report. But back to that rain gauge. In 2020, I found the rain gauge was inaccurate in anything but the lightest rain. The data was almost unusable. WeatherFlow came up with RainCheck to fix this issue, which adjusted rainfall based on data received by nearby Tempest and radar data to better estimate rainfall. That's now called nearcast rain and works much in the same way. RainCheck wasn't the best, but it did make the rainfall readings usable, although more often than not still inaccurate. So we zeroed in on that, and thankfully Mother Nature cooperated with a few rainfall events of varying intensity. And guess what? The rain gauge works better. Here are 5 rainfall events during our testing period. The first column of data is the Tempest, and the second are KestrelMet 6000, one of the most accurate rain gauges in a home weather station. We know your eye focused on that quarter-inch error first, but let us explain. In light and moderate rain, the difference is regularly either very close or within hundredths of an inch. It still undercounts in heavy rain, but the error is typically small. Now onto that bigger error. That event had one thing that none of the others did: strong winds. This likely caused vibration of our mount, which affected the performance of the haptic rain gauge, making the error appear much larger. For comparison's sake, we're also including Tempest NC rain calculations too. As you can see, in nearly every case, it made the readings less accurate. We also lucked out during our test as Tropical Storm Debbie moved through. As a result, we found that the rain gauge struggles in tropical rainfall, where raindrops are usually smaller. The undercount was high, about 50%, which is problematic. However, this is an edge case, which your Tempest would likely not experience often. We're going to continue to monitor, including getting our Tempest sensor on a more stable and higher mount, but what we're seeing early on is certainly promising and much better than 2020. So here's our take. The rain gauge has gotten better. It's not perfect, however, we are really surprised at how much closer the Tempest measurements are in our most current tests. We often saw errors measured in hundredths of an inch. That is a massive improvement. However, we recommend you turn off NC rain. It's not needed and often made our readings less accurate. A stable mast is critical to getting accurate readings from the haptic rain gauge. We have a whole video on this subject which you might want to watch, which you can find right here. Finally, improvements in rainfall measurements or not, the lightning detection in the Tempest weather system is still top-notch. If you live in an area prone to severe weather, the Tempest is perfect. The improvements Tempest has made to the haptic rain gauge algorithm are real. While undermeasuring in heavy rainfall still occurs, it's not to the degree I saw before. This solidified our decision to keep the Tempest as an editor's choice for 2024. We harp on accuracy, and the Tempest team deserves credit for improving the technology behind the haptic rain gauge. The result is a much better station overall, and one that is still worthy of being an editor's choice pick because of everything else it can do. These improvements are coming just in time, too. Ambient Weather released the WS4000 this summer, better known internationally as the EagleWit Witboy. We are super excited to have this new station in our testing lab soon, and we'll have a review and, of course, a comparison between the two in future videos. And before we go, check the description for a link to our full review, which includes a promo code that saves you $34 off the Tempest Weather System. Don't spend more than you have to. Until next time, stay weatherwise, everyone.